There's a statement that's sure to invoke wonder, skepticism, and outright disdain among the wannabe horological cognoscenti. Indeed, search around the internet and you'll see such entries in the forums, members mocking and laughing at the thought that a luxury manufacturer that sells watches from the mid four figures to nearly six figures apiece could ever be a non-profit. But of course, like all things, there's a lot more to the history of Rolex. There can be no watch house less in need of introduction than Rolex. It is a brand whose name echoes beyond the boundaries of our industry, synonymous with luxury, interchangeable with quality, imbued with the heritage that no amount of money, spin, or PR stunt can synthesize. Rolex almost occupies its own territory. Sometimes during the last decade, the brand founded by a wide-eyed Hans Wilsdorf in 1905 has transmogrified. It is no longer a watch brand, but rather a phenomenon. The rules do not apply to this relentless juggernaut as it rolls over all comers. No, when it comes to playing the game, Rolex has a distinct, insurmountable advantage. It wrote the rulebook. So, is Rolex a non-profit organization? The answer is an astounding yes. For those who do not know what a non-profit organization is, it is a type of organization that does not earn profits for its owners. All of the money earned by or donated to a non-profit organization is used in pursuing the organization's objectives and keeping it running. Typically, organizations in the nonprofit sector are tax-exempt charities or other types of public service organizations, and as such, it is not required to pay most taxes. In a nonprofit organization, income is not distributed to the group's members, directors, or officers. So, you might be wondering what Rolex does with all of its money. Today, Rolex donates a large part of its profits to charity and social causes. With that said, being a nonprofit organization does not mean that the company has no interest in making money and seeing good numbers. However, what it does allow that sets Rolex apart from its competitors is the fact that it has no shareholders or investors who may want to have a say in how the company is run, but also sets a pressure to keep the stock price high and constantly increasing, as well as increasing sales and profits. Rolex is perhaps the most secretive company in the watch industry. There is a limited information shared with the public, including things such as material sourcing, but also financials. What allows Rolex to operate its company so secretively can also be attributed to its non-profit status, and Rolex has no shareholders that demand insight into the company and detailed reports about its financials. Rolex still works hard to improve and innovate its products, and of course, has an interest in growing bigger and better. Now, if you were amazed by this fact, let's look at some of the other not-so-known things about this luxury brand. Rolex was started in London, not Switzerland. Contrary to what people think, the luxury brand was started in London, not Geneva. The company moved to Switzerland following the First World War, as it was a good tax haven at the time compared to a recovering post-war Britain. The name means nothing, it just sounds expensive. The founders wanted a name that sounded expensive but was easy for people to pronounce, whatever language they spoke. It needed to look good but simple on the dial of a watch. Davies decided it would need to have 5 letters and wrote down several combinations until he found one that worked. The name Rolex was coined as he rode through London's cheap side on a bus. The first waterproof wristwatch was created by Rolex. While other watchmakers lay claim to creating the first diving watches, it was Rolex who came up with the first fully waterproof watch in 1926. The Rolex Oyster was also dustproof with both screw-down caseback and crown lined with rubber. Today, the term Oyster still identifies waterproofness among Rolex models, including the Day-Date and Daytona. In 1927, English Mercedes Gleet made an attempt to swim the English Channel and was gifted a Rolex Oyster to do it. She wore it around her neck, and when she got into trouble, icy cold and half-conscious at 10 hours in, the inside of her Rolex was as dry as a bone. Rolex can endure some tough climates. Rolex watches survived Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay's expedition up Mount Everest back in 1953. They never lost a second. The watch given to Hillary was never purchased commercially. Rolex was one of the sponsors of the 1953 trip that year, and part of this included providing Hillary with this watch to wear during the climb, and then to return to Rolex for extensive testing after the descent. Wilsdorf even had a Rolex specially made called the Deep D, which was attached to a vessel and sent to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the North Pacific Ocean. Even during descent and extreme pressure, the watch, which was attached to the side, maintained time. Every watch is handmade. Watches are all handmade, despite rolling out thousands each year. Each one is pressure tested to ensure they meet high standards. Some watches take as long as a year to get to retailers. Each watch goes through 15 days and nights of testing to ensure precision and accuracy.